Hey team, Coach White here, and welcome to the Mental Fitness Mastermind podcast presented by mentalfitness.care, empowered by the Athlete Mental Health Certification Program, home of the RACE Action Plan. Recognize, acknowledge, connect, and empathize. Okay, so it was Napoleon Hill who wrote about the mastermind group principle as the coordination of knowledge and effort of two or more athletes who work toward a definite purpose in the spirit of harmony. See what I did there? Athletes, people, but hey, this is all about athletes, athlete mental health. And I tell you what Napoleon Hill said sounds like a winning formula for a great team, does it not? I mean, so if we work together as a team, everybody plays their position, then we're going to have victory against mental health in the athlete community. So now it's time to meet one of your teammates, Cory Camp. Cory is the performance coach and former athlete, and he's the host of the Athlete Mindset podcast. So Cory, take it away and tell everybody about yourself.
Danny, thanks for having me. I love the space you've created here. I just want to say I appreciate the time. I love the intros. I hosted the Athlete Mindset podcast now for about two years. That was really kind of started on a whim of, all right, let's down with people that I've connected with through my time in sport as a swimmer my whole life, and we'll just have these conversations. And what was really interesting to see with these conversations, they started off as let's sit and talk about what you like this mindset that in sport itself, and then it progressed to so much more of like talking with former athletes, and we kept sharing these dimensions of wishing that we're a former athlete. Like, we did all of this stuff our whole life, and now society's telling us like that's cool and great, but you got to move on to this next thing. And that really got my wheels turning of like, what if we shift that? What if there's a way to shift that perspective? And that's really when Forever Athlete became the brand that I wanted to found, and the company that I run, and all the coaching that I do is really geared towards dealing with this athlete identity and how we view ourselves. It goes beyond just athlete. It's how we view ourselves as humans, and how we view ourselves matters so much in our day-to-day performance. I think former athlete ID kind of set up for failure in a lot of ways, where just I always envision that guy who is reading his glory days at the bar, you know,
Napoleon Hill's uncle.
Years old. I was doing it. That's no way to live life. Like, I don't want to live life like that. And that's honestly how I felt for a number of years after swimming. I felt like I was the guy just reliving the glory days, yet I wasn't finding happiness in my true day to day. It wasn't until I shifted my perspective, shifted my identity to being a forever athlete, seeing how whatever I do athletically today, it could be going to play a pickup game of beach volleyball, it could be playing cornhole with an expression of who I am, and it's so much fun, and so much more than it has to be this workout that's killer all the time. So that's a little bit about the transition and the progression of how it started with just a podcast and has become somewhat now.
I think it's a fantastic platform. I love Forever Athlete because what you've done is, in one of the biggest battles that I'm finding with all the interviews and all the people that I talk to, Cory, is one of the biggest challenges is identity crisis. And what you've done just brilliantly is you've been able to go in and say, you know what? I don't have to change my identity as an athlete, because I'm not just laying down the competition over here. I'm going to carry that forever athlete mindset with me. I think that's brilliant. Kudos to you, my man.
I appreciate it. There's so many parallels, right, between sport and whatever that next chapter is, but we struggle to see them oftentimes. So that's really my role, is helping people just, if they're, you're grinding on a project at work, or you're asking yourself for a raise, how does that relate to, the game, the big swimming, the football game, whatever it was. There's a lot of those there, and honestly, probably prepare for them very similarly. That's the other aspect of my coaching, is I've really deep flow state research, and understood peak performance, and that's when we are in this higher consciousness, getting the zone as athletes familiar
Yeah.
with, and training to do that, whatever the situation may be, whether it's asking for that raise, is asking the girl out, to go to drink or go grab some coffee. Like, it takes some courage and confidence.
Yeah.
We prepare for it the same way. We need to let things flow a little bit more in our life.
So true. So true. So in segueing into that, and that I wish I could get into your flow state more when I'm on the golf course.
We'll talk about it. Let's talk about it. We'll figure it out off air.
Oh my gosh. I was in the flow state until I hit it in the sand trap, and I was like, oh no, golf will expose you. You can pretend like you're good, and all of a sudden, if you have a weakness, it's like life. Eventually it's going to find you. That's funny.
Exactly. And flow is one of those things. It's like, harder you try to grab it and like get into it, the more fleeting it is. So it's this delicate balance and dance of surrendering to, all right, I need to be in my head and thinking of what I'm doing, but I also can overthink it. Like, there's that line of making things happen.
That makes sense. Kind of like running with your fist closed. You're tense and you're trying to really do hard, run hard and do good, but it slows you down.
Exactly. Gritting it out is not always the answer.
Yeah. Well, that's good information. Okay, so segueing back, what's the toughest mental health and mental fitness challenge as an athlete, not as an entrepreneur, but as an athlete, that you faced in your life coming up and today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, so for context, I had a heart condition that undiagnosed for about 2 years, my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college. So right on the time that I was this realizing this dream of mine to get a division scholarship, on the pool deck, and I was like, what is this? I'm 17 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life at that time. I should be like, body's failing me. Like, what is this? Go to the ER. I check out. Everything is fine. They were like, this was just a freak accident, one-off thing. Fortunately, it was not a one-off thing. It kept happening time and time again. So as I was navigating the ups and downs of recruiting process, I was also navigating these psychologists in the DC area. They're telling me to give up on swimming, just put it away. And as we were talking here, it's like, you're telling a 17-year-old whose only identity at that time is swimming to just put that away. That did not feel good. I was like that's an option. So I persevered through that, and able, fortunately, to go on swim at Delaware, where I swam all 4 years.
Nice.
Through that, like as I overcame and got more comfortable with lean, unknown how that affected me mentally, it really, you would in some ways looking back retrospectively, that it would help me navigate who am I beyond. But I just swimming to get through this even more. Like, it doubled down, tripled down on being my escape from reality. When I had things going on, I always had my sanctuary of the swimming pool. So really, that kind of set the stage to, I remember, was probably the worst year, in the sense of my career ended with a race that was slower than I was my junior year of high school. And that was it. And then on top of that, 2 weeks later, on every single physical preschool that I applied to, I did not get in. I was rejected. So all of a sudden, I had two things shared, and drove me to go seek out therapy for the first time. Was this feeling of holy, who am I out? I don't. This is scaring the crap out of me for the first time in my life. That was when probably the most often and the most just low consistently that I ever was.
Wow. So how did you defeat that challenge? I mean, that's something that's pretty devastating. I mean, sounds like to me, you had a lot of things kind of coming with you. Had an identity shift completely. Then you had the anxiety of the unknown. Then you had a little bit of, where you reclused a little bit. And then, you're coming off an injury. And then especially with the heart situation where that's kind of up in the air and you're just, I mean, my goodness, you got a lot going on in that head.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. I think what helped me the most was one, seeking like professional help through therapy, having a non-biased and that I could really just go to say like, hey, this is exactly what's on my mind. This is why I'm thinking this way. Just getting and just around me. Very fortunate that my parents were like, it's okay. Like, you can get home if you need to. And like that was a huge blow to my ego of coming off of a really successful swimming career and being like, shoot, I have to move home. Like I had to move in with my dad. Like, this is ridiculous. I had all these plans and now these plans are out the window, but they really helped me kind of put it all into perspective. And honestly, it wasn't until about a year truly process and implement what was going on that then I was to really get out of this feeling really feeling like me again. And that with it took leaving a job, becoming a coach for the summer. That was really another gnarly transition of I had benefits and everything, and all of a sudden I have a job for two months, and we'll just see what happens. And I'm grateful I did that because it's all worked.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. But I mean, I would just want everybody else to understand this too. I mean, uh, some of the battles, the greatest wars ever won, the greatest battles, you have to retreat sometimes. Sometimes you come in and you're blowing everything away, you're doing well, you're winning, and then you get overwhelmed. And that's in football games, basketball, it's in all sporting events, and it also happens in life. Sometimes we have to take a moment and retreat, and it takes courage, just as much courage to know that when you're suffering a defeat at the moment, to come back and regroup and then go back again. Sometimes when we let our egos rule our lives, we don't take time to stop and retreat because that just blows our ego too much. And then what happens? We die on the battlefield. We die in the mindset. And then, but you're very fortunate to have great parents that are supportive to you. I mean, a support network, that's a really big deal. And that's what teams and teammates do. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an analogy of the arrow. Like an arrow needs to be back before it gets truly launched as far as it's potentially able to go. If we spend so much of our day trying to avoid any building tension in our bow and into our arrow, that we are just kind of hindering our own performance, hindering how far we actually can go. So if people are in those lower moments, just think back, all right, this is going to set me up for something freaking
I like that analogy. Good stuff. So
awesome with it and see what got.
I agree 100%. I like that analogy too. So you kind of almost answered the next question. What advice, you have a doppelganger out there. We all kind of do. So what advice can you give a young athlete or any athlete out there battling kind of the similar challenges that you're facing with an injury, with an identity, with, abandonment, with a lot of different things that you were going through? What advice can you give them?
Yeah. The best thing, and wish I knew earlier and truly got okay with was getting okay with being a beginner again. And no matter no matter what stage you're at in your life, we can all embrace being a beginner and be open to advice. Just saying like, hey, look, I don't have the answers, and that's okay. That goes a long way. And vulnerability is actually a flow trigger. It helps. It allows us to, when we let down our, like, hey, I have this burden that I've been carrying around my whole life. As soon as I let that go, what does that feel like? That this overwhelming sense of, wow, I feel 10 pounds lighter, and I didn't really do anything. I just shared something first time, and that comes with being okay with being a beginner.
I love it. So it's okay to be a beginner. That's one of the things, no matter what you're facing, the advice that you're giving them is say, slow down and be comfortable, put the ego in check, which is hard for us because we're all hard thriving, winning athletes. So, but do not be afraid to say, hey, stop for a second. I'm a beginner, because that happens a lot, especially from an athlete transition coming from, again, I still don't understand why the NFL didn't want a 175-pound, 5'11", 4'7", 40 as a free safety. I never got drafted. But you come out of your senior year in college, and then you go into the business world, and you go from being a captain, and then you go from sitting on the bench in business. So that was one of the hardest things for me personally, that I can take some of the advice that you're giving. I wish, looking back, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, but I look back on it and I wish that, what, I would have made peace with beginning again. You know what I mean? Starting over.
Yeah, we have these expectations, especially come from that level, right? That we fusions with being standard for how we operate. So if you're coming from a very successful career in one field and then thrown into another, you're gonna have a level of like, all right, my expectation is gonna be, I'm gonna be killing it. Like, my expectation coming out of swimming was, I want to be making six figures, because that's what was successful at the time, within a year. And if I don't meet that, then I'm going to just work harder and harder and make that happen. Like, we need to let go of those expectations. We can still hold ourselves to a high standard. And we honestly, our standard is probably higher than most people walk the street. And that's a good thing.
That is a
superpower that so many people, so many athletes resonate with. Use to your advantage, rather than setting the expectations so high that you're just constantly looking up this mountain. I'm never going to be able to climb that. That's when satisfaction and unhappiness kind of comes in.
Good stuff. So great. I mean, that's really good food there. So what's your daily mental fitness routine? What is it? What do you do daily that kind of keeps you fit mentally?
Yeah. The biggest motto that I've lived by for the past year, 2 years here, has been slow down to speed up. So making sure that I'm taking time for myself, especially as a coach, especially as a creator now. Like, I'm constantly showing up for other people.
Right.
I need to make sure I'm showing up for me on a daily basis. So routine wise, I'm making sure I'm journaling when I need to journal. I'm meditating when I need to journal. Or the one staple that's been integral, and just me making sure I'm making progress, keeping a wins log. So I actually have this, my journal right here, and it's titled Wins. And at the end of the day, I put down 5 things that went really, really well in my day, and just a good way to end on a high note. Help me get ready for this day and kind of keep that momentum going. And that's really been integral to me, whether it's a walk, whether it's an hour long out, or two workout, whatever I have time for. Like, making sure I'm still moving my body, sweating a little bit each day.
Yeah. That, I love the wins log. I'm going to start doing that myself. That's, great advice. I mean, hey, how much the check is in the mail, Cory? Just, can you hang on to it for a bit? Can you hold on to it? I mean, it's good. Let this podcast go a little bit longer.
I love it.
Good advice. Okay. So, I got I'm a goofball sometimes. So what's an insight? Go ahead. What?
No, sorry. I think it lagged there a little bit. We're back.
Okay. So, camaraderie is a big deal. You and I talked about this off the screen a little bit, but I always like joking around. I'm one of those guys that I just kind of keep things light because it helps me. It's part of what, you say what your mental health and your mental fitness routine is daily. Mine is, I've always got to laugh. I've got to make somebody laugh. I got to make myself laugh. I've got to laugh at life. Just got to find humor in something, because it keeps, just keeps me in a good flow state. So what's an inside joke about you? What's something that that you have that if your teammates knew, that they'd just kind of be looking at you and going, Cory, come on, man. What's your secret, man? Where's
I
the
love
bones in
this
the
question.
closet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, just not taking yourself too seriously. One of the things that we would always do, and I still do it because I live with two guys that I grew up swimming with.
Yeah.
Now we just talk to each other in really, really high voices, and we just like
Well,
Salium, and we're just we try to have serious conversations in high pitched voice,
that's
and
so
it's
funny.
just a great practice, I think, of man, we just it lightens the mood, you know what I mean? And you're just all right.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
just be goofy and authentic with these guys. It doesn't matter what I actually sound like.
That's funny. You got to be authentic, man. That's what it is. I think people can see through it. We can see through it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, now more than ever, I think that's one of the things that has evolved more, back, again, we're in two different generations. I'm old enough to be your dad. I mean, our generation was a little different. We were a little bit more reserved, but now you grew up with the social media, you grew up with on the internet age, really. And so you were a lot more transparent with, in that age group is, but so authentic, you got to be authentic because I think people can read right through that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I was about to say transparent doesn't mean anything without authenticity behind it. You know what I mean? If you're just sharing, you can tell, especially now in the social media age, you can tell when someone's sharing something.
Yeah.
Just for the likes and the comments, or trying to get you to buy something,
Right.
versus the best content that I've ever created, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a post, whatever it may be, has been just something that was authentically like on my heart. I just shared it because I felt called to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It converted to sales, converted to things.
Yeah.
That wasn't my intention. My intention was just to share what was on my heart. And it goes a lot longer of a way than wrong intentions.
Amen. Preach. Pass the offering plate. Hey, man. So that's it. I'm going to wrap that up. So, Cory, how can people get in touch with you? I know I've found you on LinkedIn. I've been following you for a long time. So I can just say personally, if you're on LinkedIn, go Google or put Cory Camp in the search bar, follow him. I mean, you're going to get fed daily. You're going to get entertained, and you're going to see a young professional, a young athlete, a young forever athlete on a meteoric rise. And he's going all the way to the top. I mean, he's already so high right now that he has to wear an oxygen mask, but he's going to do good.
I appreciate it. I was about to say, I'm on Instagram primary too at Cory Camp, and website athletela.com, which is geared towards the community that we're building out here in LA. That will soon be everywhere.
Awesome. Fantastic. Cory, I appreciate you. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, folks out there. That's technology. We're going to work through that, but hopefully we can, glean enough from this conversation that'll help everyone. So thanks, Cory, for coming on the Mental Fitness Mastermind presented by the Athlete Mental Health Certification Program. And I look forward to working with you in the future, and I'll see you around, Cory.
Sounds good, Danny. Thank you again.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, buddy. Thanks.